Hey again, everyone, it's Rob Ryder, and it is Sunday, July 18th, 2021. And today we're going to talk about the State Registrar is the wrong end of the stick, right? Because vital records start with a local registrar, and they go to the State Registrar. So if you go to the State Registrar to get a copy of your vital record, you're only getting what they were given. But you may not be getting your vital record. Because what if somebody substituted records along the way? Or some other devious scheme that's about that could happen, right? That in fact, your vital record started with a local registrar. And I'm going to show you, at least in the Michigan Vital Records Act, so I'm sure it's the same everywhere else, that you can go to your local registrar to get your vital records. And if they need to contact the state registrar, well, then so be it. But, it's the difference of going to the local registrar first instead of going to the state registrar. Pretty simple concept. I don't know if it's going to make any difference, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. And, in the meantime, I'm just going to show you where it came from out of the laws of Michigan and what documents I'm depending on for the information and to send it in. And one of the great things about this is if you're a veteran, service member, as you'll see, you can get your record for free. But I want to make sure I say this now, and I'm sure I'm going to say it many times. Pay attention, right? You may see this again, right? It talks about having to file a formal application, right? Formal, F-O-R-M-A-L. So they must have a form they're supposed to fill out. And it talks in the act about the local state registrar supplying the local registrars with various forms. Now the question is, well, who the hell is a local registrar? So in my case, right, while they send you to the county to get like a copy of your certificate of live birth, when I look at the name of the local registrar on my certificate of live birth, right, it's got a name that isn't the name of the guy who was the county clerk at the time. And now we're talking back 1958. So I had to do a little research, but yeah, it's not the same name. So who is he? Right? So it's not the county clerk. The county clerk is not my local registrar. My local registrar is actually the city clerk of the city of Bay City. Right? And so I should be going to the city of Bay City, city clerk, to get a copy of my vital records. And that's what I'm trying right now. Just filed something today. And, had I read some more first before I filed it, I might have written it different. But that'll come out in the next go around with them. I just wanted to have put something in the, in email to them today so I could say that I had. Anyways, let's see where this leads, right? In the meantime, because, if you're a veteran, you're still in the military. I am Staff Sergeant Robert Allen Retluski, Army of the United States. That's the big one. Everybody from 17 to 45 federally and 17 to 60 in Michigan. Right? And I am a United States Army veteran. You can call me Rob Ryder. My email address is quarterrecord@aol.com. And if you could, can you please donate to help keep the lights on? It'd be really, really helpful. My PayPal account is Rob Ryder, R-O-B-B-R-Y-D-E-R, at AOL.com. Only 2 B's in my PayPal account. YouTube, I have 3 B's. Just like, how come that happened? I made a mistake the first time I made it on YouTube, and I never changed it, and I've had to live with it ever since. Anyways, PayPal, Rob Ryder at AOL.com. Or you can send an email to me for an invoice in the donation amount you want to donate so that you could use a credit card. In other words, you send an email to Quarter Record and say, hey, Rob, I'd like to donate $50. Send me an invoice. Well, I'll send you an invoice through PayPal. You can pay on a credit card. Right? Or at the end of the day, there's always the mail. Works all the time. Put cash in, money orders, checks. Just be sure if you're going to use a name, right, you put Robert Allen Retluski. Please spell it properly, and there won't be any questions when I try to cash them. So very good, right? But this is good stuff. If you're interested in the birth records and stuff, or know somebody who is, you should tell them to watch this video. So give me just a second to load up, and we'll get started here. Hang on. Okay, so if you've ever, like I say, you've been on this hunt before, things to do with the birth records and so forth, you're familiar with the certificate of live birth. With most people say birth certificate to me, and I tell them, look, I've never seen a document that's been that's titled birth certificate, and they keep telling me they have one, and then they send me one. It's always this. It's a certificate of live birth. Well, it doesn't say birth certificate. It says certificate of live birth. See what I'm getting at? It's not the same thing. You got to really look at the words that you use and what they're used for. So this is a certificate of live birth. Most people have these. If you've ever wanted to get a passport or something, they tell you to go to the county clerk's office, get a certificate of live birth, and you use that as your evidence. So, and then of note, right, it has my father's name, and then it has birthplace, Michigan, which is really good for me to see now, again, because I had shown before there's a Naturalization Act of 1790. Which, this is the first laws passed, first Congress, when they were defining what it would mean to have a federal, Republican form of government, right? And they put the first laws on the Constitution. So in there, they said that if your father had never been a resident of the United States, you could not be a citizen of the United States. Now, before you go jumping out of your pants because I said citizen of the United States, that's what we're called in the Constitution of the United States. If you want to be protected by the Constitution of the United States, then you are a citizen of the United States. Right? That's who it's protecting. So it doesn't say U.S. citizen, or it doesn't say a citizen of the United States of America. It says citizen of the United States, or it just says citizen. Right? But it never says citizen of the United States of America. But if you look at your passport, it says United States of America on it. Right? So why are you in the United States of America's jurisdiction with a passport? Right? That's actually King George III's successor's jurisdiction. Has been since the Treaty of Peace of 1783, Treaty of Paris, something like that, 1783, where it says in the first paragraph, King George III is ticking off the things that are his, and one of them is United States of America. And as you read through the treaty, it says United States of America here, United States over there, da-da-da-da. So, it's identified that there's these two different entities. I'm talking about the United States. That's the thing protected by the Constitution. The United States of America is the thing that people call the corporate government, right? Which is nothing more than an association under under the First Amendment. Right? It's like an Indian tribe or, a religious association, whatever it is. And then they want you to be its member. And if you agree to be the member of an association, then you're bound by its laws, right? But it's supposed to be voluntary. Well, they have coerced us in and they won't let us out. And this is what the Esquires do, right? They run that fictitious society or private society or whatever you want to call it, United States of America jurisdiction, right? State of Michigan, United States of America, which is different than Michigan, United States, right? Which is where we want to be. So that's what this Michigan is. This Michigan is in the United States. So my mom and dad were both born in the United States in Michigan. And then my mom lived in Michigan, right? So then I was a resident of the United States at some point if I had my mother's usual residence. So there's really nothing spectacular about this document until you get down here to look at the date that it was received, right, which is the 18th. And I was born on the 5th, so it was 13 days later. Well, when you go read the law for this, it says that the local registrar has to have the record within 5 days of the event. Right? Well, that wasn't 5 days, it was 13. So what happens now? Right? It wasn't done right. And it also gives, the guy's name, the registrar's name. And this is what I was able to, do a search on and say, well, who was James H. Gates in Bay City, Michigan? And it turns out he was the city clerk. So you really need to know who this is, right? I mean, who's your local registrar on your birth record? That's who you're looking for. They may send you to the clerk's office to get a copy of this, right? But that isn't necessarily where the local registrar is. Mine's according to this, in the city. And, that's all okay according to the act, right? So, and here's the interesting. Pay attention. This is under the Public Health Code. It seems like everything we're dealing with is under the Public Health Code now. That's why they say they can give you a fucking a shot. You know why they say that, right? Because they believe that you're still a minor and that they're your adoptive parents or you're the ward of the state or whatever it is of the United States of America. Because we're not being seen in the United States. We're, basically lost beyond the sea. And if we could ever come back to the United States, we could claim our inheritance, which is our one share of the public trust. And, the republic is where the money is. Because when you look at the Federal Reserve notes, it says the United States of America. Well, that's according to the style manual from the government publishing office, right? The United States of America is on the top of the currency of United States, not United States of America, right? So you have a passport that says you're in the United States of America, but all the wealth is in the United States. Well, if we ever got back from across the sea to where the property is, well, we could claim our estate. It's just the Cesta KV Act of 1666 being played out today in 2021. So, a lot of this stuff is just kind of go through it. Who's the local registrar? Means the county clerk or the clerk's deputy, or in case of a city having a population of 40,000 or more, the city clerk or a city department designated by a government body of the city. Well, there you go. So it could be the city. Now, Bay City doesn't have 40,000 people, but it may have. When I was a child, it was a much bigger city back then. It's got like 32,000 now, right? But it doesn't mean it still cannot be the local registrar, because as we'll see later, they have another caveat that says, well, you can still have it. All the county has to do is agree, if it's less than 40, to let the city be the local registrar. Right? Or it says the city clerk or city department designated by government body of the city. Well, your city could have a public health department. It could be the local registrar. So registration means acceptance by the state registrar and incorporation of certificates provided for in part into the official vital records. And that's what has to happen. Your record first goes to the local registrar, gets filed with them, but it's really not registered until it's been, going through the process with the state registrar. So we don't want something that's just been filed. If it hasn't been registered, then there's a problem. And as we'll see in this act, you're supposed to pay to have it registered, $50. So the problem could be, well, nobody ever paid the fee. Right? So if that's the case, I'll pay him $50 and say, well, go do it now. Right? Straight registrar means official appointed under some section. System of vital statistics means a collection of certification, compilation, amendment, coordination, vital records, including tabulation, da-da-da. So, statistics and your records. Some don't have any names attached to them, like like the census they do. Right? The census they do is a numeric census, just for the numbers. They don't have any names attached to it. So although they do a census every 10 years, it never sees you. It just sees a number. So vital record means certificate or registration of birth, death, marriage, or divorce, an acknowledgement of parentage or related data. So now let's think about this. Then if any of these records, I'm mainly interested in the birth record right now, but any of these other records should have gone through the city before they went anyplace else, right? Because the local registrar, in my case, is the city clerk. Forms. The department shall prescribe the form and content of vital records and certificates, which shall conform as nearly as possible to recognizable national standard forms, including, as required to comply with federal law, requirements for entry of Social Security numbers. Hang on a minute. Okay, so if the department was following as near as possible a recognized national standardized form, it would be using a form that looks like this. U.S. Standard Certificate of Live Birth. And as you'll see, it's, much longer by far than what it is they give you. Right? 1, 2 pages. Right? There should be a 2-page form. And, what they give you when you go to get a copy is that little dinky thing I showed you. Right? This thing, which isn't even half a page. So this isn't the record they're talking about, right? It's been substituted for the record they're talking about. But this isn't the record they're talking about if they're doing what the law says to do. Right, okay, State Registrar, what are they supposed to do, right? Because everybody has some duties. Well, this is their duty. Exercise superintendent control over the local registrars and administer and control the activities of local officials and all other persons as to the operation of the system of vital statistics. The state registrar shall require each local registrar to require, as required to comply with federal law, the entry of the social security number of each applicant on the application for his or her marriage license and deceased for his or her death certificate. So if you're getting a death certificate, did it come from the local registrar? Who did you get the death certificate from for your loved one? Right? It's going to make a difference. The directive under the subdivision for the inclusion of social security. Okay, it doesn't really matter. We'll get on that later. Right? A city having a population less than 40,000 and an institution located within the city limits may request the state registrar to approve the governing body's appointment of a city clerk or city department as the local registrar. Right? So there again, just because it doesn't have 40,000 doesn't mean they don't have somebody doing it. And I'm going to say that, if you have a city department of public health, that they are acting as the local registrar, or the city clerk is. Okay, so no matter who it is, well, what's the local registrar's duties? Local registrar shall do all the following: record and transmit vital records and statistics as required by this part. Furnish blank forms and instructions provided by the state registrar to persons required to file vital records and vital statistics. A form or blank, including but not limited to a form, blank, and electronic format, and other of those provided as approved by the state registrar shall not be used. So in other words, right, we need to have an official application or a formal application that's been approved by the state registrar to send to the local registrar to get our records. You just can't ask by an email. That's what I'm saying. Right, we got to be a little more formal than that. Just like the oath of office for the first, for the first law of our nation after the Constitution was ratified, right? It says this is the following form of the oath, to wit, I, A.B., do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States. If you can't find that somebody's taken that oath, then they have not satisfied the 6th article of the Constitution. And you go and look at the 6th article of the Constitution, and it lists all the people that have to have it, which is senators and representatives and judges and, judicial and executive officers of the states and the United States, state legislatures. Everybody who's claiming to have authority as the government in the United States has had to have taken an oath to satisfy the 6th article of the United States all by itself. Any other oath they have to do would be separate. That's the one the federal government says they want. It doesn't say that any words. It says in the following form, to wit, and there it is. Well, that isn't happening. Right? So this is how important these forms are. You got to have the proper form, fill in the proper blanks, get the proper signature, and you can have everything that's yours. But otherwise, it's all informal. We need to have it formed up, proper formation. Okay, examine each final record before accepting the record for registration. If the record is incomplete or unsatisfactory, the local registrar shall require submission of additional information necessary to complete the record before accepting it for registration. Okay, so is that what happened to mine? Like you got it on 13 days after the event instead of 5? Well, then it's unsatisfactory. Right? So is the city been sitting on it all that time in a file because something hasn't been updated that should be updated? That's all it would take. Boom. Now your record's not where it needs to be, and you're not going to be shown in the state. We're not being recognized by Michigan. And instead, we're being coerced to be in the United States, or excuse me, in the state of Michigan, with the Gretchen Esther Whitmer and all the rest of the Esquires. Use middle initial names and want to call you a Mr. Because in the English system, a Mr. is a lower class gentleman than an Esquire. Neither of them are nobility, obviously. Right? An Esquire is not a title of nobility. He's a crown agent. He works for the nobility. Well, the Mr. works for the Esquire. And Misters don't have any rights. So, that's where we find ourselves in the United States of America. Why we need to get back to United States. So they examined the record, found something wrong. But if they did, then they're supposed to affix his or her identification to each vital record, accept it for registration, and document the date of its acceptance. All right, so I don't have anything from my local registrar saying that they accepted the document. Transmit in the manner prescribed by State Registrar the vital record to the department. The local registrar shall preserve at the local registrar's office information prescribed by the state registrar. Well, what did the state registrar tell the local registrar to keep? I want a copy of it. It's all mine. If it's got my name on it, I'm at least allowed to have a copy of it. I am the party of interest. They may have to keep a record, right, because they have to keep a record, but it's my record. I want a certified copy of my record. And right now I don't have one because I don't have anything from the local registrar. Issue a certificate of registration for a live birth on a form approved by the state registrar, and issue certified copies of vital record documents on file pursuant to these sections. So, whatever the local registrar has that the state registrar told them to keep, then I want a copy of it. Issue a permit for final disposition of a dead body upon receipt of sufficient evidence that the death occurred within the local registrar's jurisdiction. So I'm thinking this is where if you have a copy of a death certificate already from a deceased loved one, you should send it to the local registrar of their birth record so they can close out the books. And you can, collect their inheritance. Again, I think that, but my belief is when they put this system together, they knew they were going to be doing all these things. This isn't by accident. Everything we're seeing is a scheme. Hang on a minute. But it's a scheme that had to be, at least constructed in the truth, and then they would have to lie, cheat, or steal to get you into the different jurisdiction. But once you're there, you're there. But if you could ever get back to the proper jurisdiction, your share of the public trust is still waiting for you. This is why checks have a box in them with $sign with one, line before the box, right? And then it has a line for dollars. Well, a dollar, which is the symbol, is not the same as dollars, which is a weight of gold or silver. And if we're just paying a legal tender, we should really just have to fill in the box, put in the number, just like it is on the bill they give you, because when they give you a bill, hey, there it is, $sign with a box, right? That's what they want. They didn't ask for anything in writing. They didn't say, give me $200 and write it out. They just put a number with a box. And that's what we should be able to do and sign our name to. All right, that's what we could do if we were in the United States. But we're not. We're in the United States of America, and somebody else has access to our account, and they're doing that. That'll all prove itself out if it's true or not. But that's just my theory, right, on how some of this stuff works. Okay, birth registration required. The birth registration required for each individual born in the state. A record of birth for each live birth that occurs in this state shall be filed at the office of the local registrar not more than 5 days after the birth. Well, mine didn't get there for 13, so it's already wrong. Doesn't say what happens, but, it's wrong. The birth shall be registered when the filing is completed. So if they kept mine for unsatisfactory reasons, then it's never been registered. It's just been filed. Right, but it's not a complete record yet. Upon receipt of a final record consisting of birth registration transmitted by local registrar pursuant to this other section, number 2 is right above it. No, that's 2815. The state registrar shall transmit the information contained in the birth registration child immunization registry created in section 9207. Okay. So the local registrar is going to get a copy of the vital record right from the state registrar is going to get it from the local registrar after it's been recorded. Well, if you're not getting this form, which is, again, they're the ones who said it, right? They're supposed to use a form as close as possible to federal form. If you ain't got a form like this, then you don't have your certificate of live birth. Right? You have a simulated copy of a certificate of a live birth, or a certificate of live birth for a foreign jurisdiction called State of Michigan, which, it could be an Indian reservation. That's a lot of people want to say they're Native Americans. That's what they mean, right? We're Indians. We were born here. We're Native Americans. We have our own reservation. It's called State of Michigan, and they want you to be its member. Some crazy ass stuff like that. Alrighty, hang on a second. Okay, well, there's obviously no way I can go through a 25-page act in one video, right? So I'm skipping ahead now because really all I'm interested in, that shows that the local registrar has something to do with it. Well, now I want a copy, whatever they did. I want a certified copy. Now I have this thing now, which is called a certified copy of record of birth, but it's not called a certified copy or a certified birth record. Right? It's called certified copy of record of birth. But nevertheless, I've had this as long as I can remember, and it says that Stephen Toth, clerk of the County of Bay and Circuit Court thereof, the same being court of record having a seal, do hereby certify that the following is a copy of a record of birth of Robert Allen Ratluski, hey, that would be me, now remaining in his office. So why is my birth record in his office? And who the hell is Stephen Toth, clerk of the County of Bay and of the Circuit Court thereof? Because, we don't have a County of Bay. We have Bay County. The proper name of the county is Bay County, Michigan. So Stephen Toth, back in the day, he would have been what people would have said. Well, he's the Bay County clerk. But on this document, he's claiming to be the clerk of the County of Bay and of the Circuit Court thereof. And he says he has my frickin' birth record, which is just proof that it never got to the state. Right, and on this document, it has says Circuit Court of Bay County, Michigan. It doesn't say County of Bay on it. And down here now, Stephen Toth is saying he's the county clerk. Right, where up here he was the clerk of the county. So it's like, two jurisdictions have been mixed. But again, it proves that, hey, my mom and dad were both born in Michigan. So at the end of the day, right, I am a citizen of the United States. I may be missing, but I'm a citizen of the United States. I may be lost across beyond the sea, but I am a citizen of the United States. And this is where my record is right now, and it's in the wrong jurisdiction. Right? Because this seal doesn't match the court he said he's the clerk of. They got two different names on it. And this is the same seal then if you, I showed my last video, or maybe it was a couple of videos ago, where, if you go and have a notary do a notary act on your document, you can go to the county clerk and get a certificate of authority. That's what they call it in Michigan. And it just will say that the person that said they were a notary was a notary at that time, It's, authentication of their office. And they use the seal, has the same words on it, Circuit Court of Bay County, Michigan, or Circuit Court of Kent County, Michigan, or whatever county would happen to be. So it's a proper jurisdiction, but go try to find this court, because there is no court where you can go to and say, well, here's that name on a court building, or here's that name on a document, right? That's not what they're using. They're using like 17th Judicial District or Circuit Court. That's what they want me to believe this seal is for the 17th Judicial District Circuit Court. And that isn't what it says. Well, not this one, but the one for Kent County. I think this is actually the 8th Judicial Circuit for Bay County. Not that it matters. It's just, here's evidence of where it is. So for me, it's evidence that it never got to where it was intended to be. And they're the ones that substituted this short-ass piece of paper here instead of the record. that everyone's agreed we should be using, right? We should, as close as possible, use the federal form. Well, this is the federal form. And I don't know that, that this isn't the form that the clerk has from the county, but it's not the form, she's not given a complete copy of it. You can see here where there's something behind here that has been covered up, although it ends right here. So, again, it's like a short form, I guess you would call it. Anyways, so except as otherwise provided in some other section, which is 2890. Just real quick, we'll see what 2890 is about. This is about missing children, right? Birth certificates. Okay, well, whether I am or not, so except as otherwise provided, on receipt of a written request and payment of prescribed fee, if any, the state registrar or local registrar shall issue appropriate one of the following. And again, most people go to the state registrar to get this instead of going to the local registrar. I'm just saying, let's go to local registrar and see what they got. So you can get one of the following: a certified copy of live birth record, right? A certified copy of live birth record, which is close to what I have, but this is called a certified copy of record of birth. So it's not the same document. It's just pretending to be. But you could have had that, or you could have an affidavit of parentage filed after June 1st, 1977, or a certificate or other record of stillbirth filed after June 1st, 2003 of the following. Right, so if you were born before 1977 in Michigan, there should be a certified copy of live birth record. After that, you should have got an affidavit of parentage, or should get an affidavit of parentage. But in neither case is this what you're getting when you go to the county clerk's office, right? Because they're not the local registrar. Whoever the local registrar is the one that's supposed to have these documents. So a certified copy, I got that individual who's the subject. Well, that'd be me. Let's see. A certified certificate filed after. Do one of the following. Okay, so these are the people who can get it, right? An individual, the parent, an heir, a court. On receipt of a written request from an adult who has been adopted, state registrar may issue an individual copy of his or her original certificate of live birth. Well, is that what happened? Did I go to the county? They became my my co-parents? Like it was a foundling or something, right? Got lost. They found us over across the sea and they're taking care of us until we're of age, and then they'll tell us that we have this inheritance and have us come back. Or will they just continue to administer it for us? So on receipt of request of confidential intermediary appointed under some section, that'd be like a receiver, or what do they call the names for probate, right? This is on the probate code. You got trustees, receivers, conservators. But if that's what it is, then it's going to say this document is a copy of a sealed record and is not active birth certificate of the individual whose name appears on this document. So if you get a document from them and it doesn't say that, well, then it didn't get issued to you under this section. Right? You weren't adopted. Heirloom, birth certificate. Well, I don't need one of these, but you could get one. Furnishing copies of data. Certificates, reports, so they can go to different departments and so forth. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Transmitting transcripts or records, they can do that, send them to different jurisdictions. Transmission of vital records to the Library of Michigan. Well, each birth record certificate that is 110 years old, they can. So here's an interesting thing. They can't send the birth record to it's 110 years old, but they can send the death certificate. Oh, okay. Each death record certificate that is 75 years old or older. So, by then we're all long dead, right? We're not hanging around that long. So, right, things that are 75 years old happen way in the past. So they're not going to do us any good. We need to get what was ours from the beginning, right? And so whatever they did to us, they did at the beginning, because then it wouldn't matter what you did afterwards. You're already in their trap. So certified copy is considered as original, prima facie evidence. A certified copy of a vital record, or any part thereof, or a certificate of registration issued in accordance with 2881, 2882 is considered for all purposes the same as the original and is prima facie evidence of the facts stated in the original. I really wonder what that thing says. Inspection of vital records, disclosure of information, so forth and so on, to protect integrity of vital records, to ensure their proper use, and to ensure the efficient and proper administration of the system of vital statistics, a person or government entity shall not permit inspection or disclose information contained in vital records, or copy or issue a copy of all or part of a record, except as authorized by this part by rule or order of a court of competent jurisdiction. Now, who could that court of competent jurisdiction be? Because it's not the people wearing the black robes, right? None of these people have taken a proper oath to office. Right? They're really not a court of competent jurisdiction. They're a Jewish Talmudic law court acting under ecclesiastic law. They're following canons. Well, canons go to ecclesiastic courts. They don't go to courts of law or courts of equity or military courts or anything else. They go to church courts. What's the proper word for that? Maybe it'll come back to me. Hang on a second. Excuse me. Ecclesiastic courts. Right, that's what canons go to. Not necessarily Catholic canon law, which is a whole book of stuff. I mean, you can go look at your court's judicial canons. They got 5 or 6 of them. But the fact that they call them canons makes it ecclesiastic. Well, that isn't a court of competent jurisdiction. But who could be, and this is what I think it is, and this will prove itself out, is it's people like the city manager or the county executive. Not the county clerk, the county executive, county administrator, something like that, right? Because when you read these people's duties, they have a duty to enforce the law within their jurisdiction. Well, that makes them a court, right? They can, make a decision, probable cause, pick up the phone, and they call the police and tell them to arrest somebody or call the sheriff, right? We don't go to them. We go to these people, and they go to them. And that's what I'm going to do if I don't get, satisfaction. I'll be going to the city manager of Bay City and the county executive of Bay County to find out what the hell's going on. And they're not going to know anything about this. I mean, they're not the ones hiding this from us, right? But it's never been brought to their attention, so they can't enforce the law unless you bring it to them. So you got to show them, look, here's where it says this is your duty to enforce the law, and here's the law. Go enforce it. And whether they do it or not, well, I don't know. I haven't asked them yet, but that's where I'm headed to. I'm not going to say they won't. I'm going to go try it. And this is important here. It says, vital records and information of any part of the information contained in a vital record is not subject to provisions of Freedom of Information Act. But it doesn't mean it's not subject to the Privacy Act, right? And as the owner of the record, you always have a right to the record under the Privacy Act. But they want you to, fill out a form and ask for it a certain way and put your name to it or sign it. You can't just send them an email, say, send me these records, right? They want you to sign something. And actually what they want you to do is use the form they have for that purpose, fill it out, and give it back to them. So the department may establish procedures for disclosure of information contained in vital records for research. Okay, that's not what I'm so much interested in. An appeal for the decision of custodian or from the decision of a custodian of permanent local records, like the local registrar, refusing to disclose the information. Actually, this is a custodian of permanent records. Now, that doesn't mean that the local registrar is the custodian. Now, that could be the archivist, right? They're, the person in charge of the city library has the fucking records. But anyways, the appeal of a decision of the custodian of permanent local records refusing to disclose information or to permit inspection or copying of records under the authority of this section or proceeding adopted under this other section, 2896, shall be made to the state registrar, whose decision is binding on the local custodian or permanent local records. Okay, well, you could do that, do what it says, contact the local state registrar and say, look, I tried to get this record from the local registrar, and they're not giving it to me. What are you going to do about it? right? But at the same time, if I got 3 people to go to. Go to the state registrar, go to the city manager, and go to the county executive. And bitch at all 3 of them until somebody gets me on my damn records. All right, issuing birth certificate. What was this one here I went right by? Matching lien, entry, and certificate. I have to look at that closer. Okay, that has to do with missing persons again. And so does this, issuing one that has been a tagged record for a missing person, right? So apparently you'll know soon enough. If you ask for your record and you're seen as a missing person, well, they're going to get involved, right? That's something for the clerk or the local registrar to deal with. We have to ask for it first, and we have to ask on a proper form, right? So search of vital records, request fee, official statement, if record is not located, verification of identity, fees for search, establishment, registration, furnishing copies without charge, fees, creation, vital records, on and on and on. Everything you want to know about you is in this section. So the state registrar or local registrar shall, on receipt of a written request and payment of prescribed fee, conduct a search for vital record for an individual who purports to be eligible under 2882. Well, that would be us asking for our records to the local registrar instead of the state registrar. That wasn't so hard to do. Okay. And then that's or an agency to receive a certified copy, administrative use copy, or statistic of use copy. Yes, I want one of each. I want a certified copy, I want an administrative use copy, and I want a statistic use copy, because I want to know what you guys are doing with my records. However, if a local registrar receives a written request and payment of the fees charged by a local registrar under this section from an individual who purports to be eligible under Section 2882 to receive a certified copy of an allowable individual's birth record, the local registrar shall notify the state registrar. There you go. They go to the state registrar to get your record. Right? You don't go to the state registrar. You go here. They go to the state registrar. Okay, on receipt of notification, the state registrar shall conduct a search of the allowable individual's birth record within 24 hours and shall do one of the following as applicable. If the local registrar has access to a central issue system, electronically transmit the allowable individual's birth record to the local registrar. If the local registrar does not have access, well, then mail it to him. If the allowable individual's birth record cannot be located after conducting the search of the record, notify the local registrar of the fact. Right? Step 1, A, B. Okay, now we go to 2. Either you're going to get a record, or they're going to have to say they don't have a record. And they're going to have to tell the local registrar they don't have a record. Now they're not just telling you, they're telling another government agency that they don't have the record. Well, what happened, local registrar? Because you're the one who is supposed to give it to the state registrar. Right now it falls back on them. So except number 2, except as otherwise provided in subsection 1B, if search for vital record is conducted by the state registrar and the vital record cannot be located, the state registrar shall issue an official statement that the vital record could not be located instead of a certified copy or administrative use copy of the vital record. Well, that's about all they can do. Ain't got a copy. If a search of the vital record is conducted by the local registrar and the local registrar the vital record cannot be located, the local registrar may issue an official statement as described in the section, and the local registrar may waive the prescribed fee. Okay, so then they would have to tell you they don't have a record. Well, that's when it's time to go to the city manager and say, the city manager, where's my record? All right, you guys have violated the frickin' Vital Records Act. Okay. The state registrar or local registrar may require an applicant who requests a certified copy, an administrative use copy, or statistical use copy, yes, provide for verification of his or her identity before releasing the record if eligibility for the vital record is restricted under 28882. No problem. Here's my ID. All right, I'm asking for all types. So 4, subject to these other sections, the fees for search of vital records is as follows. Right? A search including one certified copy, one administrative use copy, or one statistical use copy of a vital record, or an official statement issued by the State Registrar that a vital record could not be located is $34. Well, I'm not going to ask the State Registrar. I'm asking a local registrar to find it. Additional copies, more. Okay, so authenticated copy, more. Additional authenticated copies, more. Verification of facts delineated in 28812. Let's look at that real quick. Hang on a second. Okay, except as otherwise provided in some other section upon written request and payment of prescribed fee, the State Registrar or local registrar shall verify for any person the following facts. This is for any person now. Right? The name of the individual who the vital record pertains, the nature of the event, the date of the event, the place of the event, the date of filing. Right? Because there's different kinds of vital records: marriage, birth, death, divorce. I think I had was another one. Right? So that's what they're talking about. Okay. So you get that for $18. I accept it otherwise provided. Right? So the fees for establishment or registration of vital record are as follows. An application for establishment of a delayed certificate of birth. That includes a certified copy of an official denial of the application is $50. Right, so apparently you were supposed to pay $50 to register the record in the first place. Now that's today's prices. I don't know what it was in 1958. Could have been the same, but it wasn't done. Or was it done? I don't know. Okay, so veterans, right? Spouses of veterans, dependents, survivors. On receipt of see what it says there? Formal application. Well, where is the formal application? For a soldier, sailor, Marine, member of the United States Coast Guard, nurse, member of the Women's Auxiliary, or other individual who's entitled to a bonus, a pension, or other compensation under a law of this state, the United States, or another state or territory of the United States, or service auxiliary, for a vital record for the purpose of obtaining a bonus, pension, or compensation, the State Registrar shall furnish one certified copy of a vital record requested without charge. If the individual who is entitled to the vital record is deceased or mentally incompetent, the State Registrar may furnish a copy to an heir, guardian, legal representative of the individual. The State Registrar shall label a certified copy furnished under this subsection in the following statement: for veterans' benefits only, not for personal use. Well, I'm not planning on using mine for personal use anyway, so excellent. I'm a veteran, I got benefits. Now, I say anybody who's ever registered with a Selective Service System can get it for free because of this section right here. Right? When they want to charge you, say, look, I'm registered with a Selective Service. I'm a member of the militia. I'm in the military. All right? And they may blah, blah, blah. I say, well, let's go talk to the city manager. All right, let's go show them the section of law, look at my certificate from the Selective Service System, and tell me I'm not covered by this section. So that's huge. I mean, this is what I'm getting mine from. I just need to have the freaking formal application. On receipt of a formal application. They're making sure you need to have a formal application, folks. I hope you're reading, right? On receipt of a formal application, State Registrar or local registrar shall furnish a certified copy of vital record without charge to a licensed child placement agency. Subject to subdivision B upon a formal application. If you're over 65, older, for a fee of $14 for search and one certified copy of his or her birth record. So, pay the fee. That's what I'm saying. And they got all these other ones. These are all the reasons you'd have to pay a fee, right? But get to the point of where you have to pay a fee. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so it goes through, searches under 4, government body, local government unit has jurisdiction over local registrar, may adopt a system of fees for a local registrar that provides for fees that are less than or equal to the fees set forth in subsection 4. These fees must only be used for maintenance and sustenance of the vital record fees program to alleviate any burden to the taxpayers to provide this worthwhile program. Okay, well, whatever. Right? This is why you go to the local registrar first and see what the fees are going to be. If a system of fees is not adopted by the local registrar, the local registrar may not charge a fee other than the fee prescribed in Section 4. I'm a veteran. On receipt of formal application, the state registrar shall conduct a search for and furnish to an individual one certified copy of the individual's vital record without charge if the individual's present presents all of the following to the state registrar. Homeless verification letter, Okay, that'll be in the next video. I'll find out what it took to actually get it done, if it can be done. And get this vital records fund. Prohibited conduct. So here we go. This is the things that you would go show to the city manager or the county executive or whoever it is. Right? A person shall not willfully or knowingly refuse to provide vital record information required by this part or the rules proclamated pursuant to this part. Willfully or knowingly make a false statement in a vital record or report required to be filed under this code or in the application for an amendment or a certified copy of a vital record. Willfully or knowingly supply false information intended that the information to be used in the preparation of vital record or amendment thereof. Willfully or knowingly obtain, possess, use, sell, furnish, attempt to obtain, possess, use, sell, furnish to other persons for any purpose or deception, a counterfeited, altered, amended, or mutilated vital record, or a certified copy thereof. Willfully or knowingly furnish or possess a vital record or certified copy of vital record with knowledge or intention that it be used for purposes of deception. Well, I think that they've done these things already with me by giving me this certified copy of record of birth that, it's not a birth record or whatever they called it. They had a particular term they called it, and that isn't the term, right? I don't know why the clerk of the county of Bay has my record, because I'm not from the county of Bay. I'm from, I was born in Bay City, actually city of Bay City, Michigan, right? That's my jurisdiction. All right, my folks lived in Auburn, Michigan. So, I could say they've already done these things. So, if they don't give me my record, obviously I'm going forward with that in mind, that I'm going to take the things listed under prohibited conduct to the city manager and the county executive with a copy of my record and say they're not helping me out. You guys got to get me some relief. I'm petitioning the government for for relief. Willfully or knowingly furnish or purposes of vital record or process a vital record or certified copy of a public record with knowledge of intention that it be used for purposes of deception. A person shall not make, counterfeit, alter, mutilate vital record or report required to be filed under this part with the intent to deceive. Okay, so if they weren't intending to deceive me, then they're telling me where my record is, and that would mean it never got to the state, and there's the problem. Right? Let's correct the error, and I want to claim my property. Okay, so one last thing. Yeah, so this was the easy thing, right? I sent MCL 333-2815, local registrar duties. That was the subject. To the city clerk of the city of Bay City, clerk, whatever his or her last name is, according to my certificate of live birth, the COLB, the city clerk of the city of Bay City, James H. Gates, was the local registrar of the event, see Block 19. In accordance with the Michigan Compiled Law 333-2815, 2F, please issue to me a certificate of registration for live birth on a form approved by the state registrar and issue to me a certificate, or certified copies of vital record documents on file pursuant to these other sections. Right? So there's actually two things. There's a certificate of registration, and then there's the vital records. And what those vital records could contain is who really knows? I mean, somebody had said, and a lady had gotten a complete record of her daughter's file from the court. This is her daughter was going through foreclosure, and she was really giving the clerk a hard time. I mean, a hard time. She was doing everything she could until the clerk gave up and gave her the record. And in that record, it showed evidence that this be her grandchildren, had been married to each other or married to somebody else or all sorts of things. These secret marriages that created these unions. And, it's just a stack of shit that happened that was in this woman's file. Well, that's what the file we're talking about. These vital records. That somebody has done something, with your property, and all the evidence is in your record, and at the end of the day, it's all your property. It's just right now they're hiding it from you and administering it. So that's what I'm going. That's my angle. That's what I'm trying. I'm going to do it as a staff sergeant in the Army and say, brother, you have to give me a free copy. Let's see if they do that. So again, right, State Registrar is the wrong end of the stick. We got to go to the local registrar because vital records start with the local registrar. All right, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll let you know if I have any luck. You just have to wait a little bit and see what happens. Okay, have a great day. See you now. Bye. However, I would say one more thing. If you watch this video this far to the end, right, can you please donate? I mean, if you're somebody who watches my videos all the time to the end and, you're enjoying the complete show, it'd really help if you donated a little bit. Sure would. All right, I'll leave it there. Have a great day.